In the busy city of Chicago, life moved quickly. The crowded trains, towering skyscrapers, and constant hustle seemed to keep everyone distracted. Among them was a man named David Parker, a 34-year-old IT consultant who had spent most of his adult life chasing validation through relationships. David grew up believing that happiness came from being in a relationship. From high school crushes to college girlfriends, and later into adulthood, he had always placed women at the center of his life. He thought that if he could just find the right one, then everything else in his world would fall into place. But as the years passed, something strange kept happening. The more he pursued, the less fulfilled he became. He worked long hours, earned good money, and yet found himself drained both emotionally and mentally. His relationships didn't last, and every time they ended, he felt broken, as if a part of him was lost. One evening, while sitting at a coffee shop near Michigan Avenue, he met an older gentleman named Mark Reynolds. Mark was in his mid-50s, with salt and pepper hair, sharp eyes, and a calm presence that immediately stood out. David noticed Mark was reading a book titled The Psychology of Fulfillment. Curious, David asked, "Excuse me, sir, is that book any good?" Mark looked up and smiled. "It's not just good, it's life-changing. Most people spend their whole lives searching for happiness in others, never realizing the power lies within themselves." Those words struck David. He leaned in. "That sounds exactly like what I've been dealing with. I feel like no matter what I do, no relationship ever works out. I keep thinking happiness comes from women, but maybe I'm wrong." Mark set his coffee down and nodded. "Let me tell you something, David. The moment you understand that women are not the source of your freedom, but rather a reflection of the freedom you already have inside, that's when you'll be truly free." David frowned, unsure. "But isn't life better with someone by your side? Isn't that what we're supposed to strive for?" Mark chuckled softly. "There's nothing wrong with companionship, son, but the problem is when you make it your purpose. Too many men believe their worth depends on how women view them. They chase approval, affection, and attention. But here's the truth. Women respect men who have their own mission, their own life, their own backbone. If you live just to please someone else, you'll always be a prisoner." David sat back, letting those words sink in. For the first time in years, he realized he had built his entire identity around relationships, not around himself. Over the next few weeks, David kept running into Mark at the same coffee shop. Sometimes it felt like fate. Each conversation peeled back another layer of truth. Mark told him about his own past. "I was once like you. I thought my wife was the reason I existed. When she left, I nearly destroyed myself. But then I discovered something. I was giving her a role she was never meant to fill. Women can be companions, partners, supporters, but they can never be the source of your inner peace. That comes from purpose, discipline, and a strong mind." Those conversations shifted David's perspective. He started spending less time chasing meaningless dates and more time improving himself. He joined a gym, picked up reading again, and reconnected with old friends. Most importantly, he began journaling daily about his goals and values. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, David noticed a change. He felt lighter. He wasn't walking around with the weight of needing someone else to make him whole. One day, while jogging along Lake Michigan, he ran into an old college friend named Emily Carter. They hadn't spoken in years. Emily was kind, cheerful, and carried herself with quiet confidence. They grabbed lunch later that week, and David realized something surprising. He wasn't desperate for her attention. He enjoyed her company, but he didn't feel the old urge to chase or impress. Instead, he was simply present, and that made all the difference. Emily even noticed. She smiled and said, "You've really changed, David. You seem grounded, like you finally know who you are." David laughed. "Maybe I finally do." Their friendship grew naturally. For the first time, David experienced what it meant to connect with someone without losing himself in the process. He didn't overthink her texts, didn't worry about whether she liked him enough, and didn't feel crushed if she was busy. He was free. Later that evening, he met Mark again at the coffee shop. David shared everything about his newfound perspective. Mark leaned back, smiling proudly. "You've learned the lesson, David. Freedom isn't about rejecting women or relationships. It's about understanding that your happiness doesn't depend on them. You are whole already. When a man realizes that, women feel it too. They sense his strength, his independence, his purpose. That's what draws them, not desperation, not neediness. David nodded. So, the key is, women are not the answer to my freedom. They're not the foundation of my happiness. That's my job. Exactly, Mark replied. The moment you understand this, you stop being a slave to expectations. You live life on your terms. And ironically, that's when the right people, including women, are drawn to you naturally. Not because you need them, but because you've already found peace within yourself. That night, walking home under the glowing lights of downtown Chicago, David felt something he hadn't felt in years: clarity. He understood now that women could be an important part of life, but they were not the meaning of life. True freedom came from discipline, purpose, and inner peace. With that realization, David felt like the chains had finally fallen off. For the first time, he was no longer chasing happiness. He was living it.